Good morning, everyone. Today we are here to discuss about blockchain. I think many of experts who are there in IT, they consider this as one of the biggest revolutionary technology after internet. That is what has been considered by many scientists who are in IT. So we have here Dr. Seema Sharma, and at the moment she is in Delhi University, although she teaches in the area of environment. But this is what, in fact, she is interested in, and I think this will be a good discussion on upcoming technology for us. So I invite Professor Seema, please go ahead.
Thank you very much for introducing me, and I'm very thankful to everyone, including Arnav, to invite me for this session. I think this time we are going to talk about the blockchain AI. I am professor in University of Delhi, but also I'm a CEO of a startup under Prime Minister's Startup India mission. And I think before Arnav starts his presentation, because he is the starting point, and then I'll take forward, I would like to introduce Resilience Relations, which is a startup, which is a social networking startup. And when I'm saying this, it's going to be a kind of big thing. But later in my presentation, I will explain that how we are social networking startup and how blockchain AI is so kind of discussed, these days. But what kind of background is missing for real-time implementation? So this is what I'm going to take up. And I'll ask Arnav to start. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay, we have a little issue with respect to the major focus is not on the technology aspects, but essentially on development and what really needs to be done. And okay, I'll just start again. So the major focus essentially is not to understand the context of AI and blockchain with respect to what needs to be done. So these are kind of a collage of pictures. We'll concentrate on this because the abstract had talked about static and non-static workforces, and static means that there are certain kinds of informal work. We should understand this. 85% of India's workforce is in the informal sector, which means they are not financially included. When it is not financially included, they don't get provident fund, they don't get medical insurance, they don't get investment opportunities, they don't get loans. Okay, so this is a dhobi. Okay, very ubiquitous all around India. Every urban agglomeration, every built environment has a dhobi.
Waterman, express, person.
Yeah, right. Laundryman.
Yes. Extremely important for Indians who go to USA or the developed nations. In fact, the Director General of ICRIER also said that when he as a student went to USA, he missed his dhobi. Okay, because it is a time-consuming effort, and we as Indians, we don't understand, especially our society doesn't understand the informal workforce. Now this is the dhobi. How we entered the field was, we were trying to look at air quality, and it is the worst air quality in an urban area in the world. Okay, this is the eastern part of Delhi NCR. Okay, and now the particular problem over here is that this dhobi, nothing is a legal construct over there. Everything is on an informal basis. Douglas North, a Nobel laureate, had talked about these informal institutions, but we'll come to that a little later. It is very important from the AI blockchain perspective as well. Now here is a dhobi they have a regular cash flow of income. So he can prove it because he's putting that money into the bank. But that bank account is not a collateral. What is a collateral is, for example, whenever you go to buy a car or a house, they will say that, are you a salaried employee? How are you getting your salaries, etc.? Is there a document? This person does not have a single document. Because he does not have a single document, there are two kinds of exclusions which are taking place. Number one is financial exclusion, which I just talked about. Your investments, loans, and insurance kind of things. Then the other kind of exclusion is the spatial exclusion. Okay, spatial exclusion is how do you build a kiosk? how do you, so one is the documents, and the other is how do you build it, and there is no electricity. Now this is, I told you that we were entering the field with air quality. What happened was, we were looking at what was, how do you enter the air quality field? How do you do something about air quality in Delhi? So instead of saying that, okay, this is 450 ppm, we'll reduce to 350 ppm, that does not make sense. What we should do is, because ppm, the problem is that not all particulate matter is equitoxic. There are particulate matter which is far more toxic than other particulate matter. So look at category 1 carcinogens. Coal dust is a category 1 carcinogen, the other one is diesel. So can we get coal dust, which is a category 1 carcinogen, out? So we were looking at neighborhood sources of coal dust. One dhobi for every 50 families. Because this person is informal, what is happening is that he does not get A, any kind of financial inclusion, B, there is other kind of exclusion which is called spatial exclusion. Therefore, he does not get electricity. Because he does not get electricity, he has to press with using coal. So coal dust is all over the street, and this is his family playing, etc. Everyone now plays over there. It's not only that there is an exclusion because he's poor, but even the rich people who stay there, the kids do not have an access to park because it's always flooded, and therefore they play here. So all the kids, rich and poor, because of urban planning, they play in coal dust. Okay, and that's a category 1 carcinogen. And how do we solve this particular problem? And this is where, if we need to really take development in India seriously, we have to understand how do we have to leapfrog. Okay, our human indicators are there, and we are quite abysmal. If we need 85% of the workforce to get formalized, we need the help of AI and blockchain. Then there are various other lenses, for example, disability, which I will come to shortly. Okay, I think there is another particular thing which was very interesting, which is just outside her college. It's a girls' college, and there is a police booth. If you can see, there's a police booth for the last 10 years, never been used. Never ever has been used, because the entry is from an open drain, so no one can enter that booth. Okay, now the police actually stays over here, and as you can see, if the girls have to come out and get into auto rickshaws, etc., this is a huge problem. So they basically stand on the road, and then there is a vehicular problem, etc. So these kind of microaggressions in our urban life happens continuously. Now, if we wanted to figure out how do we get rid of that booth or redesign it. So the police booth is owned by the police station. We went to the police station, we went to the ACP. The ACP said, get a letter from the PWD because they own the footpath. We went to the PWD said, go to the MP. We went to the MP says, get a no objection certificate from all the RWAs. There were 5 RWAs. Okay, get no objection from all the 5 RWAs in Vivek Vihar area. Get a no objection certificate from the school principal. So school principal said, go to SUS. So if somebody, just one part of a footpath, if you want to, clean up the mess which was created, somebody has to leave her or his work for 2 years to get all the no objection certificates and explain these cases. For example, then the biggest problem was the RW, one of the RW out of the 6 said that, no, that is like a scarecrow. So this police booth is like a scarecrow, so people don't, there are no petty thieves over there. The reason is that it acts as like a scarecrow. Very strange logic. Okay, but anyway, so that was the thing. Now, how do you really take care of such kind of things, and is current, so you would like to think, okay, these things should be solved by information technology as it exists, because there will be information, and correct information will prevail. That does not happen. Okay. Okay. So given this, first, so we have understood the nature of the problem. Every person has a peculiar problem, and the nature of the problem is there. Now we will look into AI and DLT. DLT is distributed ledger technology. Then we will look into suitable frameworks for entrepreneurs. and how these decision-making processes can be done. And finally, that is Seema's case, where we get into a live project of how this can be done. Okay. I hope this works. There is a very crisp video on blockchain by the Center for International Governance Innovation in Canada. So I have selected that particular video because it very crisply tells us what the concept of blockchain, DLT, distributed ledger technologies, distributed ledger technology, and one of them is blockchain. Okay, while we are getting that, I'll start with the AI part. Okay, now DLT will come to the AI. DLT, one very important sentence for DLT, distributed ledger technology. One of the technologies is called blockchain. Okay, the distributed ledgers happen in various ways. We'll come to that. But one defining sentence which I found awesome.
We live in an age of dynasties.
Perfect. Yes. So what the internet.
Business.
Perfect. Pause kar dijiye. Yeah, just a second. What the internet did to communication, DLT will do to trust. That really sums it up. Okay, so as a business school, law school, policy school, etc., conglomerate that JGU is, it becomes very important, and DU of course has many more disciplines. So from a university point of view, AI and blockchain is pivotal, and given India's context, universities in India need to figure out how to manage it. We'll come to that. Okay. We'll start. This is a 6-minute video, but it explains it clearly.
Many people think of blockchain as the technology that powers Bitcoin. While this was its original purpose, blockchain is capable of so much more. Despite the sound of the word, there's not just one blockchain. Blockchain is shorthand for a whole suite of distributed ledger technologies that can be programmed to record and track anything of value, from financial transactions to medical records or even land titles. You might be thinking, we already have processes in place to track data. What's so special about blockchain? Let's break down the reasons why blockchain technology stands to revolutionize the way we interact with each other. Reason number 1, the way it tracks and stores data. Blockchain stores information in batches called blocks that are linked together in a chronological fashion to form a continuous line, metaphorically, a chain of blocks. If you make a change to the information recorded in a particular block, you don't rewrite it. Instead, the change is stored in a new block, showing that X changed to Y at a particular date and time. Sound familiar? That's because blockchain is based on the centuries-old method of the general financial ledger. It's a non-destructive way to track data changes over time. Here's one example. Let's say there was a dispute between Anne and her brother Steve over who owns a piece of land that's been in the family for years. Because blockchain technology uses the ledger method, there is an entry in the ledger showing that Adam first owned the property in 1900. When Adam sold the property to Dave in 1930, a new entry was made in the ledger, and so on. Every change of ownership of this property is represented by a new entry in the ledger, right up until Anne bought it from their father in 2007. Anne is the current owner, and we can see that history in the ledger. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Unlike the age-old ledger method, originally a book, then a database file stored on a single system, blockchain was designed to be decentralized and distributed across a large network of computers. This decentralizing of information reduces the ability for data tampering and brings us to the second factor that makes blockchain unique. It creates trust in the data. Before a block can be added to the chain, a few things have to happen. First, a cryptographic puzzle must be solved, thus creating the block. The computer that solves the puzzle shares the solution to all of the other computers on the network. This is called proof of work. The network will then verify the proof of work, and if correct, the block will be added to the chain. The combination of these complex math puzzles and verification by many computers ensures that we can trust each and every block on the chain. Because the network does the trust building for us, we now have the opportunity to interact directly with our data in real time. And that brings us to the third reason blockchain technology is such a game changer. No more intermediaries. Currently, when doing business with one another, we don't show the other person our financial or business records. Instead, we rely on trusted intermediaries, such as a bank or lawyer, to view our records and keep that information confidential. These intermediaries build trust between the parties and are able to verify, for example, that yes, Anne is the rightful owner of this land. This approach limits exposure and risk, but also adds another step to the exchange, which means more time and money spent. If Anne's land title information was stored in a blockchain, she could cut out the middleman, her lawyer, who would ordinarily confirm her information with Steve. As we now know, all blocks added to the chain have been verified to be true and can't be tampered with, so Anne can simply show Steve her land title information secured on the blockchain. Anne would save considerable time and money by cutting out the middleman. This type of trusted peer-to-peer interaction with our data can revolutionize the way we access, verify, and transact with one another. And because blockchain is a type of technology and not a single network, it can be implemented in many different ways. Some blockchains can be completely public and open to everyone to view and access. Others can be closed to a select group of authorized users, such as your company, a group of banks, or government agencies. And there are hybrid public-private blockchains too. In some, those with private access can see all the data, while the public can see only selections. In others, everyone can see all the data, but only some people have access to add new data. A government, for example, could use a hybrid system to record the boundaries of Anne's property and the fact that she owns it while keeping her personal information private. Or it could allow everyone to view property records, but reserve to itself the exclusive right to update them. It is the combination of all these factors, decentralizing of the data, building trust in the data, and allowing us to interact directly with one another and the data that gives blockchain technology the potential to underpin many of the ways we interact with one another. But, much like the rise of the internet, this technology will bring with it all kinds of complex policy questions around governance, international law, security, and economics.
Okay, so I'll just stop. Okay. So essentially, there is one particular point of departure from this particular presentation is that it will cut jobs of lawyers. No, that is not the case at all. In fact, it is quite the opposite, which I'll explain right now. Okay, so essentially, now we have a working understanding of what blockchain is and how it is different from traditional internet. And we know, a record and safekeeping is extremely important. We'll come to this. AI. The AI is the science and engineering of making intelligent machines. That was the John McCarthy definition. But there are many particular things, and right now we know AI for perception, like understanding images. But this is what Facebook is doing at the moment. Answering questions from data. Siri is one application. Planning, if you're an urban planner, you will realize that. Motion pictures, robots, natural language processing. And then there are some associated concepts, what is called narrow and broad AI. All AI right now is narrow AI. Narrow AI is fine. The Terminator things are essentially the broad AI kind of things. We have nowhere close to it. So the governance of this, of course, is a very important thing. Right now, these four words are used a lot. AI, machine learning, deep learning, and data science. Very quickly, AI is essentially, when you make machines think like human beings to some extent, AI is the broadest thing. In that broad circle, you have a machine learning kind of a thing where you train the machine to learn by itself. Deep learning is basically neural networks, okay? And data science is something completely different. Okay, people mistakenly think that data science is the same, but it is not. It has overlapping areas, but it is completely different. What happens is you need big data for these kind of things, but it is necessary but not sufficient. Okay, that is a very important thing. That yes, you need a lot of data, but the definitions are all dissimilar over there, and what do you do with that data, that becomes an important thing. Okay, the other thing is there are the 7 original aspects. Okay, I can't, because of paucity of time, I will not go into this. Where our project deals with is point 6, abstraction. So while we are aware of AI, AI can, for example, a machine can read handwriting and things like that. So, but it took a lot of time, because how a 2-year-old or a 5-year-old reads a 9 and can, when all of us write a 9, okay, a 5-year-old can interpret any of the handwritings. A 5-year-old can do that. Okay, that's a 9. But a machine could not. It took an enormous amount of time for a machine to learn handwriting. Okay, that is where the neural networks came in, and that is where we try to figure out how do we differentiate between a baby dog and a baby cat. Okay, how do we do that? It was very difficult for machines to do that, but now they can do it, and then there is a point of inflection. So once machine learns it, it can do the. For example, if a human child can learn handwriting of one language, a machine can learn all the languages instantly. That is the thing. But where our project is looking at is abstraction, defined as a quality of dealing with ideas and events. This is where, can machines be empathetic? That is the governance paradigm. At the moment, machines are not showing any kind of empathy, and worse, the business models don't show empathy. Okay, the governance of IT companies in their business models is really weird. Equity to finance the proof of concept of startups is very, very bad. This is a governance challenge which we have. Equity should not finance proof of concept. Okay. Now, development in suitable frameworks. The development role we have already discussed to some extent, but AI and
No, I just want to ask, are you going to take questions in between, or are you going to take them?
maybe right at the end or in between questions, up to you, because
Clarificatory questions?
yeah, clarificatory questions, sure.
Very quick, one doubt that I've always had, and I've heard multiple things, is blockchain AI, or is it not AI, or is there...
No, blockchain is not AI at all. Blockchain is digital ledger technology, and artificial intelligence are completely two different things in information technology.
And they have 2 different things to do as well.
Yes.
We will explain that how AI can be useful in our day-to-day life and how blockchain can solve the purpose. So these are 2 different
In fact,
areas.
in information technology, one of the problems was how do you link the two. Blockchain started with the MITs and Dartmouth College, etc. Blockchain started with one person whom we actually do not know, Satoshi Nakamoto, 2008. Completely different philosophies which started these. The start point of blockchain and start point of AI are very different. Okay. Another problem.
Why do we always talk about blockchain and AI together?
Okay. Okay. Because there was one problem. Both of them were fundamental disruptors. Okay, and for a long time for example, one was trust, one was how human beings will do things. Okay, the trust and how human beings will do things. Fundamental disruptors, and most people were not able to connect the two. Except, in fact, she had a idea, so that is where point 6 abstractions came in. Okay, but to quickly answer that question, no, they are not similar in any way.
Different areas.
Completely different fundamentals. Okay, now with respect to disability, that is a very good entry point for projects to start, because disabled people will require how their MRIs, etc., are read. There you need AI. And what happens is, a disabled person who's poor in India, you are hunting from one Ames to Safdarjung, etc. Actually, our ethnography work has shown that it is very difficult for the disabled person and the family or the caregivers to manage the records, the medical records. So AI is supposed to read the scan, and B, the medical records can be kept on blockchain, and then that huge problem of life is taken care of. okay, via these two things. So disability is one very important thing. The energy, water, resources are extremely well known, so I don't want to, if you have time, we'll take it up. Two suitable frameworks. One is the multiple stakeholder framework, and the other one is the empathy. Empathy is a very important thing. Normally, how we associate blockchain and AI is with social networks. Okay, and I'll come to a fundamental problem with social networks right now, and why AI and blockchain can help with that problem. Okay. The empathy problem is essentially known as the Dunning-Kruger effect. Okay, what is happening with social? There are many problems, but this one is the fundamental one. That is
An important
Yeah,
Indian context.
what is the basis of fake news? How does fake news happen? Okay, this is the best way to understand it is called the Dunning-Kruger effect, which is that there is confidence about a particular person and knowledge in a particular field. So when you get immediate knowledge, you feel very confident about that subject. Oh, I have understood it. But with passage of time, there is less and less understanding. Which means, look at your confidence. When you know the least but a little, you are most confident to share that information. So fake news is essentially the Dunning-Kruger effect.
That is what happens on Facebook.
Yeah. So and I don't want to go deeper into this. Then there is a problem with the dopamine effect of how the business model is run. So the business model of Facebook is completely equity financed. This is where financial gradients come in. So now you know the Dunning-Kruger effect. Now if you come to financial gradients, that's a concept which says that look, when you're starting a new concept, you cannot make it equity financed, because then you will catch on to the lowest denominator of doing business. Okay, and Facebook's lowest denominator of doing business is how much time are you spending on Facebook. That's completely regressive society, and it has broken empathy. Several research papers have shown to it.
This has been revealed by the Facebook team members themselves.
Yes, and their business model, Facebook's business model, is using this particular thing to induce dopamine effect. So every time we get a like or we see a video which we like, which might be completely contrary to our beliefs, or stronger contradictions, for example, religious beliefs, etc., become stronger and stronger, and we start endorsing it, and we get a binary world. And empathy has reduced. So there are neuroscience proven studies where empathy, the parts which show in the brain empathy, that has reduced. So empathy, reward and recognition is a very important thing. At the moment, the business model, because what is happening is the Facebook will make more money if more people are spending time on Facebook. If people put in more time on Facebook, their empathy reduces. That is no. But as a business model, I don't care about empathy and shattering society as we know it. I just want to make money. So that is where financial gradients comes in, which says that you cannot have the proof of concept via equity, because equity has different methods to make money. Okay, so financial gradients. There are various other things. There's a taxonomy of the flow of information, statistics, and tax, etc. But I will not get into that. There are several related concepts. Okay, this is the decision-making framework. So I would not get into this, but this is something which is there, and we are trying out in our project. There's a three-phase. Maybe Seema will take it up later on. This is the last slide. I'll quickly say this. There are some general current issues. That is, okay, with blockchain, the biggest problem which the central bank, why it has banned it, and the former governor of assistant governor or deputy governor had said that essentially, if you have currencies coming in and you're buying a pen with cryptocurrencies, it is your M0. Okay, you're increasing M0 money supply, and that is what the reserve banks want to control. Okay, M0 is their target, and they don't want that to happen at all. There is a little bit of a problem in that understanding, because cryptocurrencies, yes, the first cryptocurrency usage was 5 bitcoins for a pizza. That is true, but this is they are generally not used to buy pens and pencils. Okay, so the M0 argument is a little dated. The second thing is the government problems. That is, for example, if you want to have a land deed, or just the disability record. The disability records.
Medical records. You
Yeah,
can say.
the medical records. The medical records are kept by the Ministry of Statistics, whereas disability comes under health. Okay, so but the record is under statistics. So even if the health ministry wants to do something about it, statistics would say no, because then they'll have a completely. So there are these very weird legal problems which arise. Biggest problem, headache of the government right now is data localization, particularly because of the Cambridge Analytica scandal. They want to locate our things. However, India has an absence of servers. Another problem is that we do not have a single DLT of Indian origin, which is really weird. Okay. A business model, of course, I have explained equity versus grants. Another huge problem is just like DLT in AI, the biggest problem right now is, for example, we had computing, but the person who kind of made the personal computer, Steve Jobs, knew how human beings will interact with technology. Okay, in fact, Steve Jobs very famously said that, you have to have in a word processor fonts. You have to change font. So if you remember, the first thing you did with a word processor was change the font. Okay, so this was the kind of insight, the user experience and user interface, which Steve Jobs had in mind. At the moment, DLT and AI lack, but whether Seema is going to solve that, let's see. Okay, and should the start be local governance? Okay, one argument for this is the thing which differentiates developed countries to developing countries is the presence of local governance. How do we know this? We know this by looking into the World Value Survey, and when we look at developing countries, they say that their higher government is all good, etc., but they are very sad, threatened about their local government, police, PWD, etc. In the developed world, it's just the opposite. While they can be skeptical about their higher government, Supreme Courts, etc., but they are absolutely happy with their police, their fire brigade, etc. So this is across all developing countries, all developed countries. In fact, if you move, I have seen both.
You have literature for all of this, right?
Yes.
Yes.
All of them are published papers as well.
I must mention that our startup is out of 10 years of rigorous research based out of, we have a specific DIPP number for this. So there are very lesser number of startups who have the DIPP, and they are based out of research and innovation. We are one of them.
Okay. Now, so local governance might be a very good start point for looking into these aspects. The local governance case for dhobis, I don't want to get into this, maybe Seema will explain that a little more. Now, okay, so suppose say, okay, I have now understood local governance is how we start. Then we take up dhobis. But we still need a blockchain partner. So, for example, how do you choose the partner? Okay, this is where knowledge of blockchain becomes very important. For example, A-Chain is a very good fork, but A-Chain is a company based out of Singapore. Their team sits in Beijing, and a sub-team sits in California, and their servers are in Canada, USA, and China. And that particular process is going to hold Indian data.
Well, can I just...
Yeah, sure.
I mean, maybe she might plan to do that, and I guess she can do it, but I don't know about the rest of the people here. This is where I'm like, okay, I think I hear important things, but I don't understand.
Okay.
Can one of you just walk us through what the hell does a blockchain do? In the sense, I understand the abstract, the video that you told us and why it is great and solve all the problems of the world, and I'm totally believing that. But let's say you now tell me that there's an A-chain, and you tell me that, well, there's a problem that there is no Indian DLT.
Yes.
Why should there be a problem? From what I understood, who develops it is, I don't know. I mean, from the distributed thing that, okay, if there are 10 participants to it, it gets distributed across the board. So definitely I don't understand the whole thing at all. So can you walk us a little bit into, for instance, take the example of A-Chain. A-Chain is a one blockchain, right? Is that correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay. Now you tell me that there's somebody in Singapore who has developed it.
They're registered in Singapore.
Registered, okay. So they're registered with some authority.
Yes.
So that authority has the power to register blockchain. So there is a regulatory environment.
Yeah, the company is registered in Singapore.
Oh, the company.
Company, not, yeah.
So now, can you walk us through why a company chooses to create a blockchain as its business model. What does it gain out of it? Why does it make money? How does it make money out of creating this?
Okay.
Does it generate fees? So basically, if you can tell us about blockchains for dummies, right? Like 10-15 minutes to walk us through like who's doing it, who's involved, who's the person, whose computer, whose data, who's paying whom for what, and why this is happening. Then we can understand the macro picture of what bigger problems in life we can solve.
Yeah.
But can you walk us through a
Okay.
blockchain
Financial
experience?
inclusion Dhobi example.
Yeah, take it. You want to take it up, or I'll just okay. What we will do is I'll answer that particular question immediately for a moment.
Yes.
We will.
Do it.
Why India needs. In fact, most of your answers will be covered in our presentation.
Yeah, so see, I make it simple is, we completely get your context, the Dhobi question, the development question and all of that. And you've got a
Answer it
solution,
right now.
a technique, blockchain. And this will solve that problem. Now, in the time that you have, 1 hour or 1.5 hours, if you're going to address both of these issues, it's a very vast mandate. Because you're going to tell us about the police example and all that. Well taken. And we are convinced. I think, others can have different views, of course, but I have already told my colleagues that, well, this is your chance to learn blockchain.
Ganesh
So
ID.
if you can tell us, like,
Ganesh
walk
ID
us
and then
through
Ganesh
the
ID.
question, we can connect that to the time
Take it.
permitting, you can go back to the broad context. But
Okay.
right now, let's understand the
Yes.
basics of blockchain, and then maybe we will imagine how it solves your problem. Maybe we will invite you again to do
Yeah,
a part
that
two
will
of
be
the
great.
seminar
That
second
will be
time.
great.
Yeah.
I think let me take this up. So as far as DLT, how it's gonna help, in our day-to-day life. So there is one project which right now we are working called Financial Inclusion of Dhobi, that the laundryman there at the neighborhoods. There we are trying to figure out that DLT is basically, this blockchain is basically to create a trust between the parties. So here we are gonna we had done actually the full study, survey study, where we have figured out that what kind of contract, service contract, or kind of any kind of contract is possible between the RWA and the Dhobi, so that they can have the special arrangement for their kiosk, as well as they will have some kind of regular source of income, for the banking sector. For example, they can show that yes, he or she is a Dhobi and she has a regular income of let's say which our studies says that they have 25 to 30 thousand per month income. So this contract will prove this, that they are the Dhobi, they work in this locality, the static workforce of that locality, and they have this kind of regular income, and on that can be used as a collateral for bank for giving them some financial services which are available. Now when we have done this, and now when we have all these things, when we are putting this on blockchain, all this information, the number of Dhobis there in the neighborhoods, the RWAs, the people, whosoever is the the parties are there, and then if some Dhobi is there, the bank is giving some kind of financial services provided to that Dhobi, and then Dhobi cannot disappear, because he is there on the blockchain and his whole everything is there. So no one can deny, no one can lie, and there is a strong trust between the party. So this is how this will serve the purpose at the neighborhoods in day-to-day life, DLT as a technology which we are going to work. There is another concept on which we are working is called Ganesh. We have a incentive mechanism, tokens, for doing good activities at the neighborhood, which I am going to present. So where if anyone who is doing, sharing some relevant, interesting or informative information, they will be rewarded for their, good deed. Through Ganesh. Now we are going to have a Ganesh ID for these local people, local vendors. So here we are taking only laundryman, but there are other vendors as well. The sabji wala, the tailor who is sitting in the corner, who has no kind of kiosk or place to. So these people will come online. They are on the, the technology का जो हमारे पास है, जो mobile है, DLT के through they all there, and there no one can say no. So this is basically the trust. And to get them available some kind of financial services by bank, we are going to have Ganesh IDs for those particular people. We will also provide them some kind of services as well. So these are all, I think this will need a separate session for how we are going to move, but
So,
this is
what I would suggest, because I'm sure there's a lot of action going on which is very interesting, we will not have time to understand all.
understand.
So, my personal request, and I don't know, others may agree, may not agree with it.
I agree
Why,
too.
no, why don't you walk us through this Adobe example, let's say?
Right.
So Adobe has a transaction with so what actually happens on the computer? Who goes in and enters what? And who records it, and why does he charge money to record it? Who makes it, who does it become visible to so that he can lend the money? So just walk us through the exact steps. Who's pressing the button?
Yeah.
So this is-
After that, we run out of time for understanding macroeconomic implications of this, so be it.
Right.
We'll get you back at some other point to explain that.
Sure.
That's fine.
Yeah,
But
so-
walk us through the human experience of the blockchain.
Yeah. Anup, just
Yeah.
put my slides there. You have my pen, right?
I think
Yeah. So here I am going to explain you what exactly you want to know, because this is something which is very important and which is missing throughout in conversation at every international to national level. Whatever the kind of stakeholder, they are only talking in air. Here I want to tell you the kind of this CNUB application which we have created is actually the platform. Which
That is
going
where the thing is.
This is going to provide a platform for the technology like DLT, which is blockchain, one of them, blockchain and artificial intelligence. Now let me again
So is this Adobe thing functional, or is it like we are preparing towards?
In January, it is functional at the moment.
It's
so we have
functional.
the app right now with
Yes.
us.
So why
And
don't you just show us?
yeah, that was
that-
precisely the next
that
thing.
is-
Really, we can just stop you and ask the questions that we have.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely,
sure.
absolutely. That is
So
what I'm
we
going
would
to do.
need some help with getting this done.
Where is the? We need a blockchain for this also.
No, but this is the regular, in general, problem we face. This is also need to be understand when we are talking about everything on online and things like that. This need to be considered as well.
No, that's fine. And you can go and let me get the
You were talking about like lawyers and courts which creating trust with eliminates these people, right? But it means that platform one intermediary will be
No, platform is-
with another intermediary, right?
No, platform is like application, the
presentation.
online.
I understand.
Yes, this is again a different.
Connected to a particular person, right? So it's more objectivity.
Yeah, we are just removing the intermediary. That is a different concept you are talking about. By the way, DLT, for example, let me talk about blockchain only specifically because this is most popularly discussed all throughout. Blockchain is basically known for the Bitcoin only. And how blockchain can be useful in our day-to-day life, this conversation is missing throughout.
Okay, I have another question about security of this blockchain system because it's very easy to interpret any IT software to get this information and how you can ensure
She's talking about the wallet.
Yeah.
She's talking about the wallet thing.
No, I think the security thing is addressed because only a certain kind of person will be able to edit the data. So, even though everybody can see it, everybody can view whatever is being.
No, if there is any kind of certification of
Okay,
this system.
I'll give an example. Suppose say there is a physical money. Okay, she has just raised physical money. This information is with me. It's basically an information, a paper. And if I give it to you, you own it, right? But the problem is that you can destroy it. Okay, you can destroy it. So that evidence, this can be a piece of paper, this can be somebody's ID, this can be a university degree. Okay, that's the information. It's a unique information. What blockchain solved was, over the internet, when I want to transfer money to you, I cannot do it. I actually have to knock on the doors of banks and etc. and then they will transfer it. What Satoshi's paper did was, it proved how double spending, that means every information flowing on the internet is essentially a replication of that information goes to you. Okay. The blockchain, what it solved was that this information is unique, it was with me and I have an ID and it has now gone to you. And I do not need a third party intermediary. However, I do need a blockchain partner. Now the blockchain partner is irrelevant in the process because the mathematical proof of work.
No, that mathematics is fine, boss. Let's step down here.
Huh.
So you need a blockchain partner does what? It's a company?
Yes, it's a company.
Let's take it, slow down.
Yeah.
Let's go step by step. So let's say it's a blockchain company.
Yes.
Who does what? Sponsors, creates, what is the
Creates
right
a platform.
word for it, a blockchain?
Sorry?
So blockchain, A-chain is a company
Yeah.
registered in Singapore.
Registered in Singapore.
Its business is to create a blockchain.
Its business is to create a blockchain.
Okay, fine. So now what it does is it's registered with Singapore authorities.
Yes.
It creates a blockchain.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Okay, it creates a blockchain essentially means that it gets a group of people which started an application which is a block, one block.
So can you show me an example of a block on the screen?
No.
So I mean, what I'm trying to tell you is that so this blockchain that it creates, it's about a specific purpose. About, let's say, which comes to you in January, it will be about your Gobi transactions.
Yes.
But for now, something exists where either in Singapore or in China or in India, people are using it for something.
Yeah, our relationship with the
Can you
HN.
give me an example instead of talking in the abstract?
Okay, fine.
Walk us through.
Our relationship with HN is very simple. HN will give us 200 HN coins. What is a coin? What is a token? A token is basically a number which exists with a particular it exists in a particular domain, okay? Which means that there are these servers where a particular number exists and that number is attached to a particular block. That block is normally owned by a person. So there is programming, etc., which goes onto that particular thing, okay?
No, but tell me this, who owns the server where this thing sits?
Okay, the servers are owned by, in this case, Tencent.
That's a company.
That's a company. That's
in China or in the US.
Tencent is one of the biggest companies in the world, but its operations are in China.
In China. It's a Chinese company, US company?
It's a Chinese company.
Okay. So Tencent sits in, so it owns all the servers where all of this data sits?
Not really. The servers are owned by Oracle, but the legal ownership is with Tencent. The servers are operated by Oracle, but the legal ownership is with Tencent.
Okay, so it doesn't. So Oracle runs Oracle has the control over the data. Right?
Yes.
So if tomorrow some like James Bond villain type guy comes in and wants to change the world by doing something really demonic.
Yes.
Right? He has access to. So if the Oracle fellow, what's his name, Larry.
Ellison. Yeah.
Larry Ellison. If he decides to, I'm going to mess up.
Yes, he can. Actually, he can. Yes.
So in essence, the trust that you're talking about is my trust in Larry Ellison, not in trust of the distributed ledger.
Okay. Now there is a difference at the moment. The problem is that most of the blockchains are actually seeded in the servers nearby. So the first thing about blockchain is that you have to first ground it into your geography. That means Indian DLTs become very important over here. That is, though the servers belong to Larry Ellison, the actual control is by the US government.
Who presses the button?
US government. And this is the thing with
so
your GPS as well.
Donald Trump now?
Yes. No, this is wait a minute.
Trust that we are getting to?
The US government has, for example, all your GPS data right now.
No, I know it knows everything about me.
Yes.
But my point is, your premise was that here, because the stuff is distributed, nobody can mess with it. Therefore, if you mess with it, he gets to know that your number doesn't match with your number, therefore it's messed.
Yes.
And now it seems Larry Ellison can change it, Donald Trump can change it, everybody other than me can change my data.
Right. At the moment, yes.
That's why data localization concept
Yes.
has come.
This is why data localization becomes
Can
important.
you talk in plain English?
Data localization means that your servers must be near your place.
So that means I'm going to trust Modi more than Trump?
No, you can trust your house, etc. See,
it's not Modi.
No.
So why would localization be better?
Okay, Dr. Chakravarti, if I go into those kind of things, then I will say that do I trust the universe and the makers, etc. Those kind of things. I think there is some kind of trust which exists at the moment, where what blockchain really does nicely is not about centralized ownership. What blockchain basically does is let's get
distributed and decentralized.
My question is, see, I understand. I think I understand a little bit of this part. So if you can tell me that if Donald Trump or Larry Ellison wants to mess up with my data, it starts a bing, and Putin says, no, you cannot do this. She says, no, you cannot do this, because I already see that you are messing up with the data.
No, why Modi will have
this is a different kind of an argument.
Modi will have no button
No.
in his hand. There will be companies like startup, like I am in startup. I am the company. I will have my own server. If I have a blockchain, my whole data will be saved there, and I am the responsible person for all kind of data.
So then I need to trust you.
No, see, this is the kind of, this is
So
the
what
nuclear.
does it then?
No, wait a minute.
Again,
No,
again,
you're
here
getting into
you
the
don't
nuclear
have
kind of an
to. You
argument.
don't
But
have to trust me because there
can
will
you
be set
trust-
of people.
No, can you
But
trust?
all of the data is owned by you, right? Ultimately,
It's-
you can prove.
No, it is
no
not
one
owned.
why. It's a public thing. No one can
Yeah,
own
so
it.
Explain that to me. Then
Yeah.
how?
No one can own it.
So that's what
Yes.
I'm trying to say. I think I understand. I'm just sort of provoking
Yeah,
you
sure.
to get to a point.
Right, right.
But the thing is that, so explain to us how, if Larry Ellison or you for that matter, if you want to mess up with the data, what will stop you?
We cannot mess up with the data because that same information, because this is distributed and decentralized, there are set of people there and they have all information. If I am trying to tamper the data or I try to get into the data, there will be a separate saved information that someone tried saving or tampering this. That will be again saved. And everyone else will know
Yeah,
she has tried.
So okay, so give me a.
This is the unique character
No, I
of.
understand. But let's see. We are like. We don't understand
Absolutely,
any of
I'm
this.
very
No,
happy
no, go
such
ahead.
conversation
I'm
is
trying
happening.
to dumb it down to our level. So let's say that that Larry Ellison owns. Let's just take a fiction. I have nothing against Larry Ellison. But I'm just. So let's say Larry Ellison owns the server on which the data sits, and he, because for whatever reason, he wants to change some number 10 to 15.
Yes.
Right.
Hmm.
Now, that same information must be sitting in some other person's
Yes,
computer
it is there.
who is not under Larry Ellison's control.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So, fine. So now, hold on. But you just said at the beginning that this company, what's it called, A-Chain.
A-Chain.
A-Chain owns the servers, but A-Chain is a subsidiary of Tencent. So Tencent owns the servers, but Tencent cannot do it. It is what's
It is
his name?
different kind of.
I'll explain
It has
this.
different
wait a
kind
minute.
of
No, wait,
implications.
Yeah, wait a minute. I'll answer your question. I think I've got it. Look, there is a big problem where Trump can even throw a nuclear bomb. Okay, I'm not getting into that. I'm talking about.
That is not distributed. That is only in Trump's
Yes.
system.
Agreed.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the point over here is that let's take a problem which actually happened, the Cambridge Analytica case. So let's take a person who actually plays around with their data, Facebook.
But that has got no blockchain business, right?
No, that doesn't.
Yeah.
That is the problem. And I'll explain how
They played with
No,
AI.
can I-
So
yeah.
their AI is there. Blockchain is not there.
That is the problem. Blockchain was not there. So, suppose say I have a piece of information. I do not know what Facebook is doing with me. If it was on blockchain, I know what Facebook is doing with me immediately. That is the difference. So Web 2.0, you do not have control over your own data. Web 3.0, blockchain, will give you control over your data. You would know at the microaggressions.
So why are you I understand, I think I understand a little bit of it.
Huh.
But the point is then why are you telling me that the servers are owned by A-Chain? The servers, there's some data owned by A-Chain, but then the others are not.
No, the ownership of the servers, yeah. So if they want to suddenly cut the servers, yes, that can happen.
So the whole blockchain will just.
Yes, if you're saying something like if the internet doesn't work, if the internet doesn't work, it doesn't work. And you know the internet governance of the world. For example, we just went to ICAO meetings, and you know there are completely different kinds of problems because it's written in English. Therefore, 90% of the world doesn't know what to do with it because you need scripts, etc. So there are completely different problems.
Yeah, there are problems with everything.
Yeah.
But here the whole premise of blockchain is that it is more secure because it's under nobody's control.
Yeah,
but it's
but
rather under
no,
anybody's
but
control.
correct. See.
Yeah, but is that true really?
Yes.
Yes. At the moment, the internet, what you're asking is not about blockchain governance. Blockchain is going to solve part of the problem. Blockchain is going to solve part of the problem. What you're really asking is internet governance. That who controls the internet, who
No, I'm not saying the whole
etc.
internet will collapse. I'm saying, say your company A-Chain. I just heard about it. I don't know how many people in the room have heard about A-Chain before.
Yeah.
A-Chain is not the internet. A-Chain is not a tiny minuscule
Yeah,
part of it.
yeah.
So if tomorrow whoever runs A-Chain decides to disrupt it in some manner, it's not like a global collapse will happen.
Yes.
It's only that the subscribers to that system will suddenly find themselves in a
Yes, so that is a big problem, and the answer to that problem is data localization. The first state of data localization is have your own servers in India. So that is what we are
But
doing.
A-Chain would allow that.
Yes, has to, because the ministry won't allow that. So all ministries now, so this is the G20 work which we are doing. How do you get data localization? So to get to the thing is, what is the business model of running servers in India? Why don't we have servers in India? So what is the problem? The problem is Indian servers are much more expensive than American servers to run.
So for
Okay.
G20, we are preparing that presentation for government of
Yes.
India, that what answer need to be.
Yes. So, okay, and now, right now, disability data and Dhobi data will happen in January in our project. And we will test it out in a sandbox environment. So how do you create a sandbox is a different question. Won't get into it. So you have to create a sandbox. Then you will figure out the problems which happen of data localization and what is the international governance procedure. So if you don't do it, we will not know it. So the proposal which we have, and I hope she has the time to run through it, then you will understand it.
Okay.
But thank you for the provocation.
Yeah, but these questions were very important even
Yeah.
when we went to Government of India. I mean, several meetings. There is
Yeah.
a GEM government e-marketplace. There are several meetings are going on, and people are talking a lot about technology and all. But ground level, they don't have any information and understanding. So anyone who is there from very big companies like tech companies, they are coming and they are selling their products and things like that, and they are just saying yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
I mean.
One is the physical data localization, the other is the conceptual data localization. For example, A-Chain is forking Ganesh. So this is happening right now. So this is a white paper which has been approved.
I don't know from where I should start,
But go ahead.
The two steps behind the basic beginning.